Hey guys,
Um, no can't no on. Let me see.
there you go.
How's
There
that?
you go. That's better.
You know what? One time that thing will pick up no light, and the next time it won't.
Okay, I can't hear Lou today.
Figures.
You can't hear him at all?
Say something, Lou. Let me see.
Hi, Frank.
Faint. Very faint.
Nothing. Let me try it again.
Yeah, maybe try that. Like last time you went off and came back, it worked.
Yeah, let me see.
Okay, guys, sorry about that. Dogs will be dogs.
Okay, Frank, can you hear me now?
Oh, that's excellent. Thanks, Lou.
Good, 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 good.
I don't know why it does that.
Because it's not an Apple product.
I was just going to say probably because it is an Apple.
There's no way. There's no way. I don't believe that for a second. Apple products are perfect. Ask everybody in the cult. In the cult of Apple. Before we get serious, Frank, was I right about Kimmich's goal today?
Man, first of all, I don't know if I've ever seen anything that just displayed so much awareness. That was ridiculous.
It was insane.
The awareness level was off the charts, and but then the physical ability to do it. Wow.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was really unbelievable.
Yeah.
Your boys got lucky.
Oh. It took a Higuain-esque sky ball to keep them moving forward in the Caribou Cup.
Unbelievable.
Did you see that Higuain miss earlier late in the weekend? Whenever he missed one over for FC Miami and the guys that were who they played against? I can't remember who it was, but
well, they were playing against. Oh,
was it DC?
Yeah, it was DC.
Yeah, the one DC defender kind of jumped in his face and he started trying to yell and scream at him.
Unbelievable. You know, Ray Hudson does the Miami games. You know, he's the homer for Miami. Yeah.
That would be hilarious to watch him.
I would have loved to. Stilatano today asked him whenever he described it. He described the what happened, and then he asked Ray, because him and Ray were on Sirius FC today, and he asked him. He said, "What? Let me hear the call you made," and he was like, "Yeah, you just did it." There was nothing there. You know what I tell you, right? Different leagues, same player.
That's right.
Unbelievable. Speaking of being in different leagues, how's this for an analogy, huh? How's this for a segue? We saw what one person on last night. One person on CNN described it as a dumpster fire inside a train wreck, and another person on the air on CNN called it a shit show. Her exact words were shit show. I believe it was Dana Bash that literally said this thing was a shit show. Lou, we didn't get a chance to really talk about it too much during the broadcast. What'd you think?
You know, it was it was just a pain in the neck to follow because of the, talking over one another. And Trump jumped in quite a bit at the beginning, talking over, Biden. Then, of course, Biden starts talking back over Trump. I mean, he was trying to show restraint, but how do you do that? I was surprised he showed as much restraint as he did. I was just looking over some of the PolitiFact that see how they're analyzing as far as lies, misleading, needs context, that kind of thing. And, just some of the stuff that was out there. And remember, we talked before we went on, we said, how low can he go? And I said, we'll see. And he went low. To me, coming back and talking about Hunter on coke when, he's a recovered addict, that's pretty low ball. And, flying across Twitter today is, of course, people are accusing Junior of being on coke because he was talking a million miles a minute last night on some of the stations. So it's just, how do you control it? You put a mic button on the moderator, have two moderators.
The mic button I like as an idea. And I think since there's only like a live audience of maybe 80 people, it might also be a good idea to just totally blank him out. Like, don't even broadcast his image when he starts talking over people. Just cut away from him completely, black out the screen on him and cut his mic completely. Put some kind of sound screen up there so that you can't pick it up through any other mics or any other noise sources. Yeah, just don't give him any ability to be the bully.
This was the first time that I can remember, and I want to say I've watched, I've watched debates all my life. Now, obviously, being whenever we're rather young, we obviously don't remember them, except for Lou. Lou might remember everything. He's got that photographic memory.
Only for stupid shit.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm the same way. We shared an office. You know how I am. I have never seen anybody before try to talk over or argue with the moderator. Okay, I've seen them trying to coax him for more time or to try to, kind of sneak a couple extra seconds in or something like that. But this clown was literally arguing with Chris Wallace. So Frank, I'll ask you first. How do you think Wallace did last night?
I think he did as well as he could do. I know there's a lot of people, I'm reading comments on social media and on our own Discord, and I know there's a lot of people that are disappointed. But given the tools that he had, and that's where I lay the blame in this, he didn't have tools to cut him off the microphone. He didn't have any other tools at his disposal. I thought he did a fine job. I mean, barring like walking up to him physically and grabbing him by the throat and saying, "Shut the fuck up, man." What else can he do? I mean, he called him out on everything. He said, when Trump would say, "He's interrupting me too," Chris Wallace said, "Respectfully, sir, you've been doing the most interrupting." He added time to Biden's time. He continuously chided Trump. He even pulled out the fact that Trump's own campaign agreed to the terms, and he told him about the terms on TV in front of that audience. So, I mean, barring, like I said, getting physical with him, which is no way expected of a moderator, how do you stop him with the tools that he had? He didn't have tools to shut him off the mic, or he didn't have tools to cut away with the camera. So, I mean, I can't really blame the guy. I think he did fine.
Lou?
And I don't know if you saw the one Trump tweet today. He was accusing Chris Wallace of pairing up with Joe Biden to go against him. I mean, just some of the questions Wallace tried to clarify on to get him to answer, he wouldn't do it. And I've heard this talking point from two other Trump people now, so they got together. Did you pay $750 in federal income tax? I paid millions in taxes. And Chris Wallace come back and said, no, federal. I've paid millions in taxes. No, federal. Refused to answer.
Yeah.
And just things like that. And then some of the other, just trying to quiet him down. It's Mr. Biden has his 2 minutes, please be quiet, and would that resort to Biden calling him a clown twice that I counted, I believe, and shut up man a few times.
Shushed him once, yep.
Just, yeah.
Do you think? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you think there was an actual winner last night, Lou?
You know what? Of course, I'm leaning toward Biden, but he did have some clear, concise points that he made. The most of the ones Trump made are, were way out there, exaggerated, or just flat out lies. I think he pulled shit out of QAnon out of his ass a couple times. And the last few comments he made, to me, disqualifies any win when you can't criticize a white supremacist right-wing organization. And tell them to stand up and stand by. That was all of the news today.
That was a big one, for sure. That was a big talking point.
What do you think, Frank?
So I'll ask you guys a real quick question before I give my answer. Just having digested for about, 10 hours or so, maybe of waking time today since last night, is there anything that Trump did or said yesterday that would sway somebody outside the red hat wearing folks?
Go ahead, Lou. I'll let you go first.
Truthfully, no. I mean, did you happen to catch the one guy's focus group that they were talking about? One of the pollsters? He had about 20 people that were supposedly undecided. And most of them come off. Actually, one of the comments was he's a crackhead.
Yeah.
He's horrid.
Yeah.
Think of any kind of talking point or any kind of strategic, when he was asked, what did you do for the country, or what, on your record, why should they give you another 4 years, essentially? He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything about policy or what he was going to do for the country specifically to move us forward away from COVID problems into an economic recovery. Neither of them really got a chance to talk about too much of that, but I mean, anything. I don't remember anything.
To answer your question, Frank, you guys know where I work. I'm surrounded by MAGAs, right? I don't even mean traditional Republicans, which I think there might be two of them on the payroll, but they're MAGAs.
Yeah.
And the few that actually spoke about it today were very. One of them said, I wish that before I die, I hope that I can finally find a candidate that I can completely agree with and vote for.
Huh.
And I was like, fucker, get away from me. Because I heard you not 4 days ago during a conversation that we had. No, don't give me this bullshit.
Yeah.
Get away from me. So they're all starting to distance. I don't know if it's a matter of them finally seeing his true colors. I told my wife earlier, I said, I think the difference is last night the entire world showed you what the entire world thinks of him, whereas 4 years ago it was only a hemisphere that did.
Yeah.
But maybe that was enough.
Yeah. So in answering my question too, and I think that in answering your question ultimately, Patsy, I don't think there was one thing that he said or did yesterday that swayed anybody outside the red hat wearing folks. And as you just said, maybe he lost a few red hat wearing folks, maybe, or at least gave enough pause to question whether they should continue supporting him with their full-throated support. So I think in that manner he lost. I mean, I can't declare a clear-cut winner, but I do remember bits and pieces because look, I don't get like anxious over watching something. I don't. I mean, unless it's a sporting event and I'm really invested in that. I don't get anxious over watching something on TV. I mean, I'm pretty much divested from all that kind of crap. But I'll tell you, like Lou, I think you started out this conversation tonight about this. All that talking over and all that crap and no control over what was going on. I could feel like anxiety was starting to rise in me. And I'm like, why am I even watching this? This is garbage, you know? So, like, from that standpoint, I felt like there wasn't really a clear-cut winner. But then as I digested for the, waking 10 hours that I had today after a night's sleep on this, I remember Biden looking into the camera and making some points to the American people. And I remember him saying, vote. I remember him saying, I'll be a president for the Republicans and the Democrats, the people who vote for me and who don't vote for me. Those are the kind of things I think connect with, real people. He said, we're going to honor the results of the election. If I lose, I'll respect that and honor that. If he loses, he's leaving. And, I think those kind of comments were calm. They were reasoned. And they remind you of the kind of leadership that we expect in that position. So last night, as I stopped watching it, I wasn't sure that I would call anybody a winner, but I thought Trump was a clear loser, and he didn't convince anybody outside of his red hat wearing population of anything, which means he lost. But now I think more about it. I think maybe Biden did kind of win. I'd give him a more positive than negative out of it.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I thought that Biden probably came out, for lack of a better term, the better looking of the two.
Yeah.
Right? But I think a lot of that didn't have it. It wasn't, boy, that's not a good way to say it either. I think it was a 50-50 split between Biden's message and Trump's actions, or his behavior. The 50% of Biden coming out of this looking pretty good was the message that he sent, and whenever he actually did answer questions. And the other 50% of my thinking that Biden won was because of Trump's behavior. Biden just looked like he was, if you had to choose between one of these two folks and put in whatever scenario you have, having the nuclear codes, that's the catchphrase, right? Dating your daughter, there's a catchphrase, right? Which one of these two do you want in a position that has an effect either directly or indirectly upon you, just by watching those two last night? Who do which one does it for you? That's why I say Biden. Biden. I agree with you, Frank. I think overall Biden probably won. Did you see the BBC article today? Whenever they had a rundown of how the world's media reacted to this whole thing. Go ahead.
I didn't catch that one. No.
Oh, wait till you guys see this. This is beautiful shit right here. You guys are not going to believe this. I miss it. How do I skip it? All right, here we go. See, look at this. I gotta get my buttons straight, guys. Hopefully folks can see this. If not, Times in the UK wrote, the clearest loser from the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden was America. The UK paper, The Guardian described it as a national humiliation. French newspaper, I'm not even going to try to do it in a French accent because I'll sound even cheesier than Pepe Le Pew. Called it childish and chaotic, childish and grueling. Another one said Biden had systematically refused to play his opponent's game while Mr. Trump tried to directly confront his challenger, pointing at him and addressing him directly. The Democratic candidate spoke more to viewers and looked directly into the camera. See, that was the one thing that we had talked about. Germany described it as a TV duel like a car accident. Italy, La Repubblica, Frank said, never has American politics sunk so low, chaotic, rowdy, and based on mutual contempt. Even the Russians called it 1.5-hour exchange of insults, while another paper said there was no constructive dialogue. China, the state-run Global Times called it the most chaotic presidential debate ever and noted that Trump had taken, quote, aim at China by blaming it for the raging COVID-19 epidemic and U.S. economic woes. Well, of course they did. Come on. India called it mudslinging. The debate was marred with personal jibes and political barbs. So no one on the planet seemed to think that there was much to this.
Well, I'm not sure who froze up here.
We still hear you.
Yeah.
We can still hear you and see your motion. So maybe while Lou's trying to get back on, Lou, we can still see you and hear you if you could hear us.
Yeah, I can see his signal starting to fade out, but it should be back now. It should be pretty good. There you go.
Are you back with us, Lou? So maybe while he's getting back to that, I'm going to jump on a couple things that you read there, Pat.
Go ahead.
The one thing that jumps out at me is the French. The French and Italian kind of characterized with the first line almost the same exact way, and that's the way I saw it too. Was this is chaos? It's childish. You know, even Biden. That's why I was reluctant last night to kind of feel like he was a winner when he was, calling him a clown and saying "shut up, man." But I mean, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I'm just saying it was what it was. But the other thing about the French characterization, and it goes in line with what you were talking about, looking into the camera and how we've commented on that. As a lawyer, hey Lou, can you hear us?
It froze a couple minutes ago. I could see myself moving, but both of you so I wasn't sure who it was.
Well, we could see and hear you, but you couldn't hear us. So, well, we're just kind of analyzing these comments that were made around the world, around the globe. So I'm going to finish my last thought on that, and then you can just jump in, I guess. The French comment about how Trump was pointing at Biden and looking directly at him while Biden was looking at the camera. As a trial lawyer, I was always taught by my mentors and my teachers to never look at your opponent, to never directly address your opponent. You address the judge or you address the jury, and you don't make it personal about the other side, and you don't make it look personal about the other side, because that detracts from your argument. It makes you look small, it makes you look petty, and it takes away from the focus of where the argument should be. And it also insults the person receiving the message, because you're not speaking to them. You're clearly arguing with this other person, and you're putting all your focus on them. And it detracts from your ability to use good reason. So that's crystallized in that comment by the French newspaper, and I think it's important. And I think it psychologically will send a message to people who are watching that debate.
Lou?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the whole world is praying we get our senses and vote Biden, except maybe Putin, China, and a couple other places. I'd even say Iran's praying for us to vote for Biden, because they figure at least they'll get back to some semblance themselves, maybe. It's just, to me, what we were and going into the world with that mess. Oh, that had to be. Would you have liked to have been in Italy last night watching that with some of your friends and relatives? You would have turned 18 shades of red.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been hard to try to explain how far we've fallen.
And the worst part is, as a country, we did it to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Fox News, or as we like to refer to them as Fox Entertainment, were baffled at why Trump didn't condemn the white supremacists during that little exchange he had with Chris Wallace. It was probably the one of the biggest idiots on that channel. God knows there's a whole bunch of them, right? I mean, they almost fall over each other trying to be bigger idiots. Is that Brian Kilmeade? His quote was, Donald Trump ruined the biggest layup in the history of debates by saying, not condemning white supremacists. I don't know if he didn't hear it, but he's got to clarify that right away. That's like asking him, are you against evil? Why the president didn't just knock it out of the park, I'm not sure. For those of you who don't remember it, it was the whole who are those idiots, Proud Boys, and these. Whenever he was asked to condemn these things, can you condemn those actions? And he tiptoed around it like a champ. I'll give you that. A drunken champ, but like a champ. Anybody want to weigh in as to why he didn't do it? Because I got my own opinion as to why he didn't condemn them.
Well, he never condemned Charlottesville. He never condemned Kyle Rittenhouse. Is that his backup plan for chaos after the election? I don't know.
Frank, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they constitute, a better part of his, I guess, militia thugs. I think that there are people who empathize or are like-minded with the Proud Boys, even if they're not in the Proud Boys or are adjacent to, they live in the racist world neighborhood. They might not walk around using racist epithets. They might not use overtly racist language, but they have those tendencies and beliefs that that kind of stuff makes them more comfortable than somebody fighting for justice for people of color. They're irritated by people who are fighting for justice for people of color. So he knows that. He knows that there's probably a swath of like 35 to 38% of the public that has those sentiments openly. And he didn't want to offend those folks because that's the biggest part of his base.
Yeah, that's it. It's the biggest part of his base. That's why he won't say anything negative against them. And he needs his own SS.
Yeah.
Right? Let's not forget that. He needs his own SS. And really, I'll be completely honest with you guys. Up until last night, I thought that a lot of this whole thing about how he basically wants to militarize and strong arm the election. I really thought that was a lot of that was the left being a little paranoid, or a lot of voices or pundits on the left who are trying to gain eyeballs and kind of embellishing things a little bit. I'm not so sure I buy that anymore. The more I'm watching this clown, I mean, he just saying it during a debate. He wants armed people there. He wants, he wants this armed and physical confrontation. And Trump or Biden said it best, is because that's the only way that's all he has, right? That's what he feeds on. He's like a prawn. In order for him to do this, he needs a private whatever, because he can't get anybody in the public to do it. That's for damn sure. It's illegal. He can't do it. You think this thing's going to grow legs? Here, well, let's start with that. Let's finish that one out, and then I have another question for you. God knows, I hope I remember. Do you think this idea of having his own personal SS is too far-fetched, Frank?
No, not at all. I think it's definitely, if you look back not that long ago, a month or so ago, there was people in unmarked civilian-looking vans that were pulling people off the street in Portland. And there's word that those folks were prison guards who volunteered to go do this duty, that maybe went under, the payroll of DHS or Department of Homeland Security. But they weren't, trained police officers. They weren't trained military folks. They were just people that got into uniform and were like weekend warriors and given this. So I think those are folks that are inclined to do that. And I think he's got that little training ground for them in the Proud Boys and the white supremacist community. I don't think it's far-fetched at all. Yeah, and I just want to quickly reference before we throw this over to Lou, even in our own little Discord group, I've noticed there's been this sense, and it's kind of an epiphany to me today. I guess earlier this morning it hit me. There's amongst folks in our like-minded world that they believe that if you just vote, that it's going to be enough. If we vote in big enough numbers, it's going to be enough. I've seen, and I've been worried because I've seen all of our norms and traditions pissed off and not checked by anything or anybody, to the point where, and I just read this thing too by a Florida judge. I'm going to let this go real quickly, but the Florida judge who was the Supreme Court justice in Florida who oversaw Bush v. Gore before it left Florida and went up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And he said, if you don't understand how fragile our democracy is, voting laws and election laws are so arcane and can be abused so badly, you should be afraid. Because that time between November 3rd and January 20th is going to be off the charts perilous, okay? Because there's so much, room for interpretation, and these laws are so arcane that we're in for some serious trouble. Now, so the epiphany to me is this. Yes, we have to vote in big numbers. That matters, and it will matter. And big numbers are going to change things. But we also have to be prepared that to back those big numbers up, we have to be ready to go into the streets. Because I don't for a second doubt that Trump and his cronies and Putin and whoever else is behind this are going to try to claim victory and are going to try to gum up the works somehow between November 3rd and January 20th. And then they're going to call their people into the streets like the Proud Boys, et cetera, et cetera. But we have to have the votes to make our position legitimate, so that when people go in the streets to say, we're not going to stand for this election bullshit, there has to be a basis for it. There has to be the fact that overwhelming numbers did show up and vote for Biden. So as we talk past each other, not you and I, Patsy, but as we talk past each other on the left, let's not do that. Let's agree that we do need to vote in big numbers, however you do that. But you also have to be prepared to do more than that. You really do. We can't just sit back and expect that the vote in and of itself is going to be enough.
Frank or Lou?
I agree with Frank, and I could also see, this BS with him, stand by. Don't forget, Hitler couldn't do it without his brown shirts that were basically a precursor to the SS once everything got rolling. Same type of, gullible, Kool-Aid drinking idiots. What's to say you won't see it around here? How about heavy minority precincts in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Detroit, Milwaukee, Atlanta, swing states, Minneapolis, St. Paul? What if they show up and start violence at those polls halfway through the day, early in the morning, and the guard has to be called out, machines destroyed, or what? What do you do with that percentage of ballots that possibly swings each one of those states?
I'll do you one better. There's so much violence and so much chaos going on there that they have no choice but to shut the polling place down.
That's what they want. So how many 70,000 in the city of Philadelphia is nothing when you think about it.
No.
70,000 is more than our voting county here, but in Philadelphia, it's what? 2 precincts?
Say it's a couple of precincts, that's all.
Same in Detroit, same in Milwaukee, Florida, Miami-Dade County. Where's the other county that always fucks up? down there? Pinellas?
Sounds right.
That sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah.
Those counties will be targeted.
You know the one thing I couldn't understand, Frank? I've been watching this clown do this thing now for a month, maybe more, about the rigged elections. And he came flat out and said last night that he's going to lose. Okay? He said it without saying it because that's the only way you start making excuses for things that don't happen yet, is if you know it's coming.
Right.
And this, just what I have seen, has to be the fourth or fifth time he's actually told somebody this, standing at a podium with a microphone and literally told somebody this. I don't understand why nobody, literally nobody that he's said this to or has been in a room that can ask questions or who can challenge him has ever asked him, well, what if you win? Is it still corrupt? Is it still crooked? Is it still fixed if you win?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's absolutely one of those head scratchers. The other thing that gets me is we always talk about projection with Trump. We always talk about projection. Yep. And when I look back on 2016, look back at some of the comments he made before the election. Election security was an issue. He said they're going to steal the election from me. Voting machines are going to be rigged, et cetera, et cetera. It's crooked. They're setting it up against me. And then come to find out that election security was an issue in 2016, but it went for Trump. It benefited him. What worries me most is I think he knows that, again, he's projecting about the absentee and the mail-in ballots. If you watch, go look up Michelle Bachmann's statement yesterday. Michelle Bachmann, the Minnesota politician, who's a Republican, she said, it's very easy for pre-printed ballots to be made in China and then shipped over here through various countries along the way so you can't trace it. And then they're housed in some silo. And then on election day, we say, well, we need 10,000 more votes for Biden over here. We need 10,000 more votes for him over here and whatever else. And if you need 40,000 ballots, they're all housed somewhere out in the silo. We'll just go pick them up. What's to say they're not doing the same damn thing for Trump? I mean, that's where you get the idea from. They're blaming somebody else for something they know they're probably already doing. And that's the projection element of this. He wouldn't be so worried about it if he didn't think he was already trying to do it. It's like this damn thing in Pennsylvania when they supposedly dug out 9 ballots that were thrown away. They placed those damn things there. They just try to make an issue out of it, and thank God it's kind of gone away because it's such bullshit. But they try to plant something and say, oh, look at all these Trump ballots that were thrown away. Well, 6 of them were Trump ballots, 3 of them were Biden, and they were all thrown away by them. They planted this shit.
He's either confessing or projecting, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's his MO. It's one or the other. Confession or projection.
What was the one in Pennsylvania he was talking about? Oh, about a poll watcher. And I'm thinking, there's no poll in Pennsylvania open yet.
Right.
Yeah.
There is no early voting in Pennsylvania. So how could there be an issue with a poll watcher when nothing's open?
Just made shit up. Just makes it up.
Which goes back to our one of our original questions, whenever we started, about Chris Wallace and the job he had to do. How the hell do you moderate that? I mean, your choices are you either have to fact check on the fly everything this clown says, and now you're in an argument with him,
right?
And now you're in the spotlight now, right? Okay, and so you turn this shit show into a bigger shit show because you're now the third wheel, which the moderator is never supposed to be, right? Whenever you talk about a debate, you always want to remember the questions. You never want to remember who asked the question. It's the question and the answer that's the important part, not the person asking the question. You can give a shit who that is if it's a good debate. He's in a bit of a jam, no matter what he decides to do. the bigger question I have for you now. Next week we have the vice presidential debate. Lou, I was wrong. Next week is the last night I said it was it's the VP next week. Do you even want a second or third presidential debate at this point?
No. Why would you? I think the debate that may make the most difference is next Wednesday.
Yeah. Frank, what do you think? Do you even want to see another one?
No, I don't, and I can't see after last night. I can't see anybody in the country saying, "Oh, he's afraid to debate." Look, there was nothing productive out of that. Everybody universally agrees it was a shit show. I haven't seen one person say, "Yeah, give me more of that." There's nothing to lose by saying, "No, we're done. We're canceling those. We're just going to move on to engaging our voters, spending our time with that." Because look, the amount of time you waste preparing for a debate with somebody who's not going to truly debate, is going to engage in all this talking over stuff, there's no value. There's no value at all whatsoever in that.
No, there isn't. There's another part of me though that wants him to debate 2 more times and just use this one as a learning tool and see if he can come back and hit him harder. Because my guess is this one trick pony just blew his load, right? He can't really do much more next time. He did it all. He gave it all to you last night, right? How's it going to get worse? I mean, if it does get worse, it's just more of the same shit. But you've already experienced the shit, so you know what to expect. So part of me wants Joe to go back at him and see if he can improve. But that would mean that I have to watch it, and I really don't want to watch another one.
I can't imagine there's anybody out there, frankly, guys, that's sitting there saying, "I really want to spend another hour and a half watching something like that." I just can't.
Lou, what are you thinking next week? What are you looking forward to next week?
I don't believe there will be as much crosstalk and talking over one another as what you saw last night, because even though Pence is a dick, I think he has more restraint than Trump.
Well, he definitely seems to have more self-control. If not, will beat him if he doesn't. But
not as far as going past the norms of a debate. And I think Kamala, it's the same way. She just the way she speaks, she's deliberate. I believe Pence is also, and they'll lay out their. I don't know who's moderating that debate, but I could believe they'll lay out their ideas in courteous fashion. That's why I'm thinking that debate might be the one that could sway some fence sitters.
Yeah, you might be right. Frank, one thing is Kamala Harris is very disciplined.
She'll be prepared. I mean, I think, Pence won't fold. He's been in the public limelight long enough. He did a radio show for a long time. He was the governor of Indiana. I'm not saying he was effective in his policy making, but he's been in the public spotlight long enough that he's not going to fold in the public spotlight. That glare is not going to be too bright for him. He'll be fine. Kamala will do great in terms of her preparation and her presentation. The thing is, I think I agree with Lou that there may be people who are, fence sitting that might decide to vote one way or the other. But I'm going to say it's probably going to be, if Kamala really knocks it out of the park, if she does like above and beyond what I expect her to do, she'll win over some voters. If she, unexpectedly flounders on something, there might be some people turned off by that a little bit. But, when I talk to the MAGA folks that I talk to, and I still maintain most of my contacts with people, even through this crazy time, a lot of them really don't care for Pence. I mean, Pence is just kind of he's the guy that got them the Midwest Indiana vote, maybe got them a little bit of Michigan vote. He's a means to an end for them. They see him as part of the deep state. That's what some of those folks tell me. They think that he's just another deep state person that Trump needed to fill out the ticket. I don't see him doing anything for him, honestly.
Well, he really hasn't done much of anything for him to begin with. Uh, Lou, I kind of agree with you. I think that if and I you guys know I'm pretty cynical at heart. If there are people who are still they still don't know who they're gonna vote for, even after the shit show last night, you still have undecideds, honest, legit undecideds, not people that are just saying they are. Um, I agree with you, Lou. I think next week does it, because if this shit show didn't convince you one way or another, um, I think you're going to see a debate that has more to do about policy, more to do about vision and what direction they want to go. Uh, and I think you're going to see far more solid, substantial arguments. I understand it's the number twos, right? It's not the people who are actually making the policy, but it's going to be more of a debate, and it's going to be more of a a subjective thing than it is a personality, a cult of personality thing.
Let me jump in with something. I know you're starting to run short here of time. We talked last week about the tax returns, about the leaking of the tax returns in the New York Times, and what impact, if any, that would have on folks. There was people that immediately jumped to Trump's defense and said, he's smart because he didn't pay a lot of taxes. Well, he paid taxes to foreign governments, number one. The other thing about whether that's going to have some impact, this has come across my radar in this format. MAGA folks on Twitter are jumping all over the New York Times and their quote-unquote source for getting these tax returns. So what I've been saying in return to that tweet always is, boy, you guys must really see that those tax returns as a horrible bombshell against your boy, because you're not talking about how that makes him smart or how he's a great businessman because he paid less taxes. You're upset about the release of the information. You're upset about the New York Times putting it out there. Apparently, you see this as a big problem. And there's never a response to that, never any comeback to that, because that's where they are with this thing. They're very upset this information got out there, that he owes $420 million, that he's only paid $750 in taxes the year before he became president for his 2016 tax return. It's damning. It's very damning, because, and then to say, like his son said, well, a lot of people don't understand what it takes to go into business or be in a business. Even some of my MAGA friends have had businesses. They paid taxes on their businesses. They understand. Succeed or fail, they understood what it took. That's insulting to them. That is absolutely insulting to them. What do you guys think?
Luke?
You know what?
You're surrounded by MAGAs.
What's that?
I said you're surrounded by MAGAs.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, we live in Mayberry.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? What I've heard is the MAGAs making excuses, and something I was just thinking about and another thing to shut him up is, well, to put it to rest, all he has to do is release him. And you don't get a response back for that. Just release him. There it is, if it's true. But I was thinking about, you know what? Pence might actually be at a disadvantage next week. You think about this. What's the Republican platform on policy from the convention? Whatever Trump said.
Yeah.
So how does he even make an argument about policy when he really has none? He's and guaranteed he's thinking about that. Like, what the hell am I going to say on this? You're going to guess what's coming up. He's going to try and form something, but if Kamala brings up, says, you don't have a policy. You didn't form a policy. How do you fly by the seat of your pants? Well, we saw what happened with COVID. Seat of your pants doesn't do a damn thing. How's he going to defend everything Trump has done?
I think what he's going to do is he's going to try to turn it around and try to say, well, we did this and we did this and we did try to throw out or recite past accomplishments, and then try to pivot off of that. Which is still, going back to your point, going to be kind of hard for him to do, because that's 15 minutes worth of talking right there. There's not a whole lot after that. He's in a bind. He's in a bind. But the one thing he can do, okay, that I've noticed that he's very good at is, they have 2 minutes to answer questions or whatever it is. They give you some stupid short amount of time to answer, right? He can ramble on for 2 minutes without really saying anything. And whenever Trump does that, he's just babbling. He's just tripping over himself. But Pence is a lot more smooth about that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's going to help him.
One thing that Chris Wallace brought up on the economy, and boy, Trump shoot around that and call it a lie real quick, is when Wallace commented, there was more jobs created in Obama's last 3 years than your first 3. And then the economy crashed. I think that was one of the points where Trump said that they were teaming up against him, Tough bringing up those facts.
Yeah.
They're pesky, aren't they? I mean, my God, there's pesky facts. To kind of, I don't know, have a little bit of fun. I don't know if you guys saw the Slate article. And I'm not real sure what I think of Slate, to be honest with you. I mean, I like it sometimes, but Slate's the only one that really I saw this anywhere. And I couldn't help but laugh.
Oh, I did see that.
Okay, I really couldn't help but laugh. You guys remember the case of former Playboy model Karen McDougal, who alleged she had a 10-month affair with Trump in like 2006, and sold her story to the National Enquirer, and they just what they call a catch and kill, right?
Yep.
Well, Carlson defamed her when discussing it on air in December 2018, telling his viewers that McDougal was soliciting a ransom in what sounds like a classic case of distortion of the now president, and she approached Trump and threatened to ruin his career and humiliate his family if he didn't give him the money. I'm reading from the article. McDougal said that Carlson and the network that airs him damaged her reputation by broadcasting those falsehoods and sought monetary damages. According to the article, Frank, and you can correct this if it's wrong, defamation suits are very difficult to prove and prosecute, in part because of broad swaths of speech, particularly speech that can claim to be political speech, and have just huge protections under the First Amendment. The judge basically said, in the context of Tucker Carlson Tonight, the show, the court finds that Mr. Carlson's invocation of extortion, the word extortion against Ms. McDougal, is non-actionable hyperbole intended to frame the debate and in the guest commentator segment that followed Mr. Carlson's soliloquy. You guys should be proud that I said soliloquy, okay? As defendant notes, Mr. Carlson himself aims to challenge political correctness on a media basis, yada, 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 yada. In other words, any reasonable viewer does not actually believe what Tucker Carlson is saying to be true. It is therefore unreasonable to take what Tucker Carlson says as truth. That's coming from the judge. So, I guess he wins, right? I guess he can sit there and say, "Yeah, oh, okay, you win." What do you think? I mean, he has a pretty popular program on a network that has the word news in its title. How was somebody supposed to believe that this is not at least based in fact, in news. I mean, obviously, you know better, but kids for the longest time grew up believing in Santa Claus until they got to a right age. Frank, what do you think?
It's a slippery slope. It really is. I mean, part of me wants to say I would like to see, some kind of action taken to correct this. Another part of me says then we're going to create those wild horses that can be run in ways that would be bad. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of a law would be drawn up to try to protect against this that could be used against the three of us on this show? You know what I mean? I mean, we could be potentially liable for some crazy interpretation of a law that's meant to stop him from doing that, because nothing's ever perfect when you write it that way. So I think we've just got to continue to combat the bullshit. We've got to continue to call it out for bullshit where it is. Put pressure on the advertisers, put pressure on the money, because money dictates things in that world, right? And no judgment is going to stop Fox News from continuing to pull the bullshit that they pull. But if they lose all their sponsors and they lose, significant financial incentive to do what they're doing, then it'll change. So, for the time being, I'm going to kind of try to keep my mental framework of not getting so upset over this kind of stuff and say, it's a blip on the radar screen. He'll be going the way of, what was his name? Morton Downey. Remember that guy years ago?
Oh, yeah.
I barely remember him. Tucker Carlson will be the next Morton Downey. Just flip him off. He'll be irrelevant in some near term. His kind of bullshit will be gone. The next guy after him will come and try to replace him. But we just got to keep calling out the bullshit and make it hard for them to make money doing it.
Lou?
Yeah, I mean, if I said this before, but one of the things you need to come back on is just reinstate as simple as combating the bullshit with the fairness doctrine coming back. Bring it back.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, without even forcing a lot of stuff, you're at the beginning of all those pundit shows in the evening, they can basically have to put a disclaimer, this is all opinion.
Yep. That's simple.
I mean, as simple as that.
Yep.
It's opinion. Sean Hannity's opinion, it's, if you're going to be news, you got to state, here's the facts. Other than that, it's an opinion show. You can take a conservative opinion of the facts, a liberal opinion of the facts. You can't distort the facts.
That'd be nice to see, wouldn't it? What do you think the chances of that happening are?
Boy, the trouble is you can see so much there is what do you focus on right away if you do have a triple majority? What would you prioritize?
I mean, it would be a priority because think about it. How much is controlled by the media? But you'd also have to look at regulation of Facebook. You'd have to look at regulation of social media along with that, because that's the next wave of, control in terms of controlling the way people think and what they hear all the time and see all the time. So, but I'd put it up there. I'd prioritize it. Look, Trump just tried to force the sale, and maybe did force the sale of TikTok in a free market society. He basically forced the sale of TikTok. I might go so far as to force the sale of Sinclair and Fox News and say it's against the national security, because look, it is against the national security. They're inciting. They've allowed the inciting of civil unrest. As characterized by our Homeland Security and FBI, they talk about white supremacists and the right-wing groups as one of the biggest threats to our security. They feed that beast. So if I were president next term, I'd say I'm forcing the sale of these companies. And if you want to squawk about it. But you're going to have to sell. Sorry.
I said before, that the whole TikTok thing was Zuckerberg had a lot to do with that, right? My argument was he recognized Trump's butthurt over the over the rally. You know, whenever all the TikTokers signed up for all these tickets, that ended up getting that asshole Parscale fired. So he was butthurt about that, and Zuck saw an opening in order to eliminate some of his competition, right? Because now he's pretty much doing the same thing TikTok is doing. He's doing that on Instagram now with stories, I think it's called. The EU, however, after all this has come down, has decided that, you know what, they don't think that they want the data of EU citizens being shared to the United States where all of Facebook servers are. Because basically this is literally what Trump's biggest bitch about TikTok was, even though TikTok insisted they have local servers or, you know, in-country servers. So there's a good chance that Zuckerberg's going to have to cease operations in the EU. Either that, or he's going to try to strong arm them into giving in. What do you think? Do you think anybody blinks in this one, or do you think there's going to be some sort of compromise? Because the EU don't play. I mean, they went up against Apple and beat them.
I'm sure there's talks going on right now because I did see that article about the EU and Facebook. You have to realize some of those countries, Canada included, have their own version of the fairness doctrine of some sort. Not that they're controlling media, but they're controlling, I guess, to make sure the message is straight.
Yeah.
That's why Fox News really has no presence in Canada.
In Europe either.
Europe either. Basically because they can't lie. I know they tried it in Canada, and basically Canadians said, "You're full of shit. We're not watching it."
Frank, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Lou, and I agree with you, Patsy. I think that they don't play, and they're not going to play. There's not going to be compromise because there's no need to compromise. They have sovereignty. They have their own, and they're going to stick to them. They understand that it's bad for their citizens. It's bad for the world. So I really believe there's not going to be a compromise.
No, I don't think so either. Now, that being said, after only reading one article, which probably was a little reckless on my part before I brought it up, I don't know how sensationalized this is or not, right? It could just be a little bit of talk, or they could have hyped it up a little bit more than it is. The fact that a social media platform and a government are a little bit at odds is nothing new in any part of the world. So, you can take that for what it's worth. One quick thing before we go, guys. We're gonna knock it off. I got one question for you. See if you guys can get the answer. Something happened 25 years ago today. Would you happen to know what it was?
September 30th, 2005.
Or 1995.
1995. It's Frank and Salesman's math. That's how they do things.
Not a clue.
Not a clue. Frank?
I'm trying to remember.
And it froze again.
I'm gonna say, would it have been? Oh, geez, it probably wouldn't have been a World Series because they would have been in October.
Nope.
I'm trying to think. Is it even sports related?
Nope. Although you can call it a sport if you'd like. Some folks do. Some folks treat it as a sport.
Oh,
Sorry, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, it's not coming to me.
I got married. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
happy anniversary.
Nice. Tell Lisa I said happy anniversary as well.
I
God
will
bless you, Lisa. Bless Lisa if she's listening.
Now you know why she drinks. So anyhow, I'm gonna cut a little bit of short. We're gonna have some eat, and
Again.
well, every 25 years. I mean, come on.
And I lost you guys again.
Oh, okay, never mind. That's what he was talking about. Mikey, my cousin, thank you so very much. Thank you much.
Is that's the silver anniversary, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome accomplishment, and credit to both of you. We joke around about it, and it's fun to joke around about stuff too. But on a serious note, it's cool to see. It's very cool to see.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna bring Lou back. We're gonna get out of here anyhow. So thank you everybody for watching. We will be back tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. Until then, everybody, goodbye, good luck, and God bless. We'll see everybody tomorrow.